Bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains Podcast.
Don't let me stop you.
Oh, I never let you stop me, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So let's break into it. Episode 207. So tonight, Chris Gallagher, fly fisher, joins us talking about fly fishing in the Catskills, long resident of the Catskills, long fly fisher of the Catskills, and other places as well. Like, we're talking not just like other parts of the Catskills. We're talking about Virginia, Iraq, Egypt. Like, this guy has been all, where else? So Montana, right? Like,
oh, I fished all out west. I lived in Washington State for a while.
So we're not just talking about the Catskills, but we're going to talk about the Catskills is what we're going to be focused on, of course. But we're going to go a little bit outside the line. So looking forward to it. Chris, welcome to the show, buddy. Glad to have you here. Thanks
for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, can't wait to chat. So one thing I would like to bring up, it's been super cold, and, I like the cold when I'm out hiking, but I hate the cold when I'm at my home because I can't stay warm. But with these sunny days and the snow and stuff like that, I haven't been out in a while, but one thing I want to bring up that's very important is what we call snow blindness. Now, when you're out in the backcountry, you're hiking and such, and you don't have like the proper, like sunglasses or even like ski goggles that have that protection, you can suffer some retinal damage from the brightness of how the sun's hitting on the snow, and you're staring at that for 5, 6, 7 hours throughout the day. It's really like the other day I took my dog out and I was just like, holy shit, like this is like bright sun and stuff like that. And sometimes you forget that you don't bring your sunglasses. Your eyes will adjust to that, and you'll kind of not think about it when you're hiking up, but it is real. And just remember to have sunglasses in, a pocket or something like that before you get out of the car or in your backpack to, once again, you get out, you stand outside and you have nice bright sunshine that we've had for the past couple days. And, to go against that snow blindness, because it's serious and it can damage your eyes permanently. And so, Tad, we going to talk about that this weekend that you had this previous weekend? Were you out in the nice bright snow?
Where are you, Stosh? I can't see you. Wave your hand, Stosh.
I knew it. I knew he was. Yeah. There was something wrong.
I don't have I can hear you. I can't see you.
Does your wife get you on here?
Yeah, she does. She wheels me into the room. So no, I have those. I wear prescription eyeglasses, and so my standard daily wear, the Photomatic ones that adapt to the lighting conditions. But the best part about hiking with these glasses in the winter is the colder they get, the slower they are to change color back to clear. So when I was hiking out on Saturday and it was getting darker, at least I thought it was getting darker, because my glasses were like still pitch black because they were so cold they weren't lightening up. So yeah, I think I'm pretty well protected for snow blindness relative to hiking in the Catskills. Being above tree line, it's a different story. And then you really need to think about like mountaineering glasses that have the blinders on either side and the nose to keep light from getting in around the lenses. Important thing. So,
yeah, I agree. Chris, you got anything you want to throw in about that?
No, I'm on board. I always carry sunglasses when I'm hiking, especially in the winter. Yeah. Sunburn on the cornea is not a fun thing. So.
Yeah, it's definitely real, and you got to think about it once again. If also once you get out of the car, you're in with a group, make sure, people have the appropriate gear, like sunglasses, just simple stuff like that, could change it. Cause, we have bright sunshine, the atmosphere, the air is thinner in the winter. So there's more sun beating down, and you got more sun beating down on that bright white stuff we call up here snow that we've gotten a crazy amount of this year for the first time in a long time. It could damage a lot in your eyes. So, and then you can get sunburn as well. So, I mean, we could just so we're cold about it. We can go in on and on about this, but it's just.
So I guess people should just stay at home and not winter hike. It's too dangerous.
Correct.
It's cold. You can get snow blindness.
Let Tad break out the trails.
Yeah, and then there's snow leopards. So
snow. Whoa. Wow, we got to talk about that. God damn. Yeah. That's a whole different story. Did you put a FOIL request in for that yet?
I'm almost done with that.
Okay. We need a FOIL request in for the snow leopards, because there might be some around here. I got to get some.
I thought
intel.
I saw one this weekend, but I was well in the advanced stages of snow blindness, so I'm not quite sure what I saw.
So you heard something purring in the.
Yeah. So. All I know is at the end of the hike, I thought to myself, maybe it's not a good idea to have a white Jeep. Maybe I should have an orange Jeep so it stands out when I get to the parking lot.
True. That's perfect. I got to agree with that. So,
right.
Moving on. So, we have some fantastic news for the town of Shandaken. The county and town have been awarded 4 New York State Department of Conservation grants that improve climate resiliency, protecting stream quality, nearby properties, and infrastructure for the impacts of climate change. These include $1 million to the county to stabilize stream banks along the portion of the Sopius Creek in Phoenicia, and $603,000 to the county to replace undersized and failing culverts as part of the county's Shandaken Rail Trail project, $1.6 million to the town to replace undersized culvert over Alton Creek with a new 30-foot bridge, and $1.6 million to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast, to build a bridge over the East Branch Never Sink up on Slide Mountain.
Yeah, I put that comment in there, and Stosh, my thinking is, if the town of Shandaken got $1.6 million to replace an undersized culvert with a 30-foot bridge, I think we can do that for about $1.2 million.
Yes.
Okay.
And
yeah, I mean, we have like little spades for digging cat holes and stuff like that. So we could replace a culvert for about 1.2. And then we can take the rest of the money and build a bridge over the West Branch off of the Slide Mountain parking area.
100%.
Yeah, I think, so we should throw a bid in on that project.
And we got to find out where they're doing that, because I guarantee we can get a bunch of people to do that.
Yeah, well, it says right here, Alton Creek, which I guess is in or around Pine Hill, which you and I discussed last episode, because you said you would choose Pine Hill as your home in the Catskills.
Absolutely.
And maybe you said that because you knew they're getting a new culvert.
That's the main reason why, is because I was just like, new culvert, new life.
Yeah. When I call a realtor, that's the first thing I want to know is where all the new culverts are going in.
Yeah.
It's not where the town park or the recreational trail is. I want to know where the flood protection is going in.
That's correct. And I'm trying to find out where Alton Creek is, but it's not showing me anything. So I'll have to go onto the crazy maps to find out Alton Creek. I've never heard of Alton Creek. So, yeah. I mean, it's the town of Shandaken, but it's interesting. So I'll have to see. Also, there's $1.2 million to the town to create a floodplain and widen the channel of Alton Creek at the same site, reducing erosion that threatens homes and infrastructure. So apparently Alton Creek is a popular area, but unfortunately I cannot find it. I'm going to have to go to Avenza Maps. Do you want to say anything about this new stuff there, that's new enhancements that they're doing for climate change? I mean, I wouldn't say that's long overdue, but it's a good step in the right direction, because as we all know, floods are getting worse, especially in the Catskills. We have silt here. I wouldn't say it really is all going downhill, like literally speaking, but it's a step in the right direction. We see it happening around different places along the Batavia Kill, more towards the Prattsville area and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, I don't know offhand how badly Pine Hill took it when we had these big rain events in the past 20 years, more or less. But they spend a lot of money in the Catskills for stormwater control because it is the birthplace of drinking water for New York City.
Very true. Very true. And once again, it's a step in the right direction. Not just, we saw these floods back in 2011, when I was not even a volunteer at Catskill Mountain Search and Rescue. I was there to be down in Margaretville and Prattsville to help out, donating, helping out, cleaning up stuff. And we saw how devastating that flood was. And people said that was I forgot, 100-year flood. And then we saw another one back in 2018. And I'm just like, well, that wasn't 100 years. So it's a step in the right direction. Let's just say that. So, but we're going to put in a bid to build that bridge ourselves, and then we're going to build another bridge over the Neversink East Branch over by Slide Mountain. And then Tad's dream's going to come true. He's going to hike Slide every day for the rest of his life. That's going to be the proposal.
Absolutely.
So Tad, next topic. Do you want to, this was you put this in there. I didn't know where this was.
Yeah, so I can cover it. I just finished a sip of coffee. So the Catskill Mountain Railroad, which is sort of based out of Kingston, New York, the Hannaford's parking lot, if you will, in downtown Kingston, is actively considering leaving the area, with their president referring to hostilities from the local officials and a preference by the county to convert the Catskill Mountain Railroad's rail line into a trail. And we talked about this in prior episodes, the conflict between the county and the railroad, county wanting to invest money into converting the rail trail or the railroad into a rail trail. And then we also talked about grant money the railroad got to build an engine house and things like that. So the Catskill Mountain Railroad is now exploring relocation options to other New York counties which are along the New York State Thruway. The Ulster County Legislature previously moved to remove 11.5 miles of track along the Ashokan Reservoir that had previously been used by the railroad, and to make it into this rail trail. And a proposal in 2025 was to limit the railroad to a 1.8 mile section, which the president of the railroad described as a train to nowhere. Well, I've ridden that railroad before, and it previously went to nowhere. But putting that aside, so the railroad has been struggling with political pressures from the county and elsewhere. The railroad claims that the county is more interested in replacing the tracks with trails, and the railroad says, hey, we drew over 50,000 riders last year. Give us a break. So we'll see how that plays out. I frankly see the Catskill Mountain Railroad moving on to another place. But meanwhile, on the other side of the Catskills, the separate and independent Delaware and Ulster Railroad, which is in Arkville, is reopening its railroad this year after it's been closed, I guess, since 2020. So as one railroad moves on, the other one gets geared up for action. Yeah. So that's railroad news.
Yeah. Let's hope, we, like you said, we talked about this once again back in the Hurley area and stuff like that, of where it was there's that 1.8 miles, like you said, that was supposed to be developed for the railroad that would go kind of into a suburban area and such, that they wanted to kind of just make that little strip, but they wouldn't. The town wouldn't, the legislators in that area wouldn't. And the woes of the area, and then now you talk about the Delaware and Ulster kind of reopening, and that's over in the Arkville. And I drive by that all the time when I go down in the Catskills, because I go through there through Oneonta when I want to go to the Panther and Woodland Valley and stuff. And I've seen the reconstruction of that, and hopefully they will trim the areas that they drive through, because my wife, I'm pretty sure it was like in 2018, took this during the fall, and they had like trees hitting the train, and people were just like, man, this is like not fun and stuff. So hopefully they did that, and it just didn't improve the railway and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your wife got her first taste of bushwhacking. How about you, Chris? You ever ride on either of these railroads?
I've not rode on either railroad.
No? Oh.
Neither have I. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather do that one, the leg thing down in near the what's that resort called?
Emerson?
Yeah. I'd rather do that than ride on a train. The train would be cool. I mean, it's old school, it's fun. But
yeah, I went on it 2 Christmases ago with my sister-in-law, my wife, a whole contingent of us and their grandkids did it. The grandkids liked it. I was kind of like, okay, I understand why the county's not 100% behind it. It's a small operation. It's a short set of tracks. I mean, if they opened it all the way up to Arkville, and had the 2 of them using it, that'd be kind of cool, because it'd be pretty long. It'd be like 20 some miles. But what they have, the train goes 5 miles an hour, and you're still at the other end of the tracks in like 20 minutes. So yeah. Well, good luck to them. Good luck to moving all that equipment.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes from here, and maybe it'll sit there and be abandoned and be another area for us to explore on the off time.
Get some spray paints. Go up there, little graffiti. Talking a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, Ted, you brought this up. Eddie Bauer is going to be filing for bankruptcy. This was sudden. I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, apparently in January, they closed on a deal to sell their e-commerce business to another company. And apparently that was kind of a planned breakup of their business assets, with the online division going to another entity. And then they're left with these brick and mortar stores, which they're apparently going to shut down unless somebody comes along and wants to buy those up. So I pulled some tidbits out of the news article. It says Eddie Bauer has been in business since 1920, when it first opened in Seattle. I didn't realize it was a West Coast company. So, Stosh, did you know that Eddie Bauer created the first patented down jacket in the U.S.? Did you know that?
Not at all.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So out on the West Coast, where it's known for wet and damp winters, they came up with this idea for a down jacket. And we know that down doesn't have really great insulating properties when it gets wet. So interesting that it was born in the Pacific Northwest. And then at one point, Eddie Bauer had over 500 stores around the world. I never got into any one of their stores ever, although I did buy some of their stuff online a few years ago. So at any rate, don't worry, folks. Camp Catskill still thriving and selling the best outdoor equipment and hiking gear in Tannersville, New York. Also one of our sponsors.
Correct. And I totally agree with that. Once again, Camp Catskill has a lot of stuff: snowshoes, spikes, boots, shirts,
sunglasses.
Yeah, sunglasses. They sell a lot of great stuff. And, go there instead of, Eddie Bauer. Support your local area instead of these bankrupt people.
That's right. And our friend Mo Lemire, a hiking guide extraordinaire, works there, can answer all your questions about what you need to have fun safely in the Catskills. So, Chris, Camp Catskill, they sell any fly fishing gear that you know of?
No, I don't know. I haven't been in the store yet, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. Where do you go locally in the Catskills to buy fly fishing gear?
Everything is up in Roscoe here. So,
oh, yeah. That's
Yeah,
like the heartbeat of fly fishing in the Catskills is in Roscoe.
It's Trout Town, USA.
I was going to say,
And in Roscoe, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say like Trout Town, USA, and then like the fly fishing capital of the world, I would say. That's what I've heard have been called. So
I'm going to tell my wife maybe this weekend we should go to Trout Town, USA. She'd be like, huh? What?
Pretty closed down right now,
Oh,
unfortunately.
yeah. It's like all other Catskill towns. They're conquered down until the spring hits and stuff.
Well, you got Hunter and Wyndham with skiing.
True. Okay.
Yeah. Interestingly, Bel Air, the state-run ski area, I don't think they really do much for Pine Hill.
You sure? Like those other places is like booming right now. Everybody's always talking about how Bel Air is having the best like season.
Yeah, they're having a great season, but do people that go to Bel Air swing through Pine Hill on their way home, or they just jump on 28 and make a beeline for the thruway?
True. They got Tito Banditos though.
Yeah, well,
amazing margaritas.
Let's get Tito on the show and find out if he gets any skiers coming in.
Oh, okay. And then we'll have to call out those NYC skiers that make up the traffic jams on 28 or 23. Yeah. All right. So excellent. Shooting the shit is over. So sorry that you had to go through that, Chris. I know it's sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not. That was a little bit woey, except for Shandaken. So,
oh, come on. You're being too hard on us.
I no, it's just like sometimes we have some really good, crazy stuff to talk about. I mean, I had some crazy stuff that's happened in every other part of the world, but I don't have the time to talk about that. So, big thing want to say is thank you to the amazing monthly supporters, Bob McLean, Chris Gerby, Eric Rosario, Jeff Jotz, Vicky Ferrer, Mikey S., John Comiskey, Summit Seekers, Desert City Radio, Betsy A., Denise W., Vanessa, and Jim C. Wow. Thank you guys so much. Love you guys. Thank you for supporting the show. Also, thank you to our amazing sponsors like Outdoor Chronicles Photography. You need to capture your love story against breathtaking backdrops with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly specializes in adventure couple photography, and she'll immortalize her moments amongst stunning landscapes of the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. She'll craft timeless images that reflect unique bond in nature's grandeur. Embark on an unforgettable photographic journey with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, discover the wilderness with Trailbound Project. Our expert-led hiking and backpacking education programs offer unparalleled outdoor experiences. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned adventurer, join us to learn essential skills, explore stunning trails, and connect with nature. Start your journey today with Trailbound Project and unlock the wonders of the great outdoors. Scott and Joe will be joining us on a future episode. I think it's 2 episodes from now. So, in 2 weeks. So, look forward to that, talking about Trailbound Project and the amazing stuff that they do. So the question is, are you really outdoors? Mention the podcast on one of your hikes through social media, and we will chat about it on the show. Tag us by typing at ITL Catskill MTN podcast on your post. I don't know if this works on Facebook, but it definitely works on Instagram. I'll have to test it on Facebook because I haven't gotten anybody on Facebook. So
tagging the show.
Yeah. I don't know if it works like thoroughly on Facebook. So first off, Todd, aka T Bold Outdoors, went up Mount Beacon on a beautiful winter day, and then also went out a couple days later on Southwest Hunter, breaking some deep snow. So a lot of people were breaking some deep snow. And Tad, you can talk about that. Chris, you're going to talk about that later as well. And Chris, thank you for tagging the show. But I mean, you're going to be talking about that later. You better go into great detail about this because that's what we like to hear about our guests is just their trail experiences. So thank you for tagging the show, Chris.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm not going to mention you. You're already going to be mentioned. So Kelsey G was up snowshoeing Balsam Lake Mountain. I'm pretty sure everybody in this was snowshoeing. Scott Q, aka Catskill Mountain Brew, once again with Joe. And 2 others went up Sugarloaf from Mink Hollow. They were supposed to go up Plateau because it was definitely slow and exhausting. They just decided to do Sugarloaf as well. And that's, I got to admit, from Mink Hollow, that's a tough hike going up Sugarloaf. Like in the deep snow with the steepness of Sugarloaf, that's pretty tough. So they did some, I saw some of their posts. Everybody had some different posts from that. And definitely one of those areas. Tad, you broke trail for them, correct?
I suppose so.
I suppose so. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really think it helped them, but we can talk about that.
Yeah. So Joe, J. Cap Clow also hit fur following Mo's tracks from the day before. So Mo went up there with the 3500 club and did a hike up Big Indian or up fur. And then they decided because they were breaking trail that Big Indian would be a little bit too tough that they went back down fur. So Joe, good job. Joe also did that in the nighttime. He also went up pretty late and then did a nighttime hike in the full moon. So
now's a good time then to point out that Joe apparently had planned on continuing to Big Indian, but mid-route on his way to fur or when he got to fur, realized that because of the conditions and the time of day, the best choice to make was turning around and retracing back down to presumably Biscuit Brook. Right? Yeah. Unlike other people that get out there and don't heed to the prevailing conditions, keep pushing and get into trouble.
Correct. So yeah, good call. Definitely. You know, we've all had that. You know, a lot of us with this breaking trail knows, you know, our limits. And to everyone who knew their limits and kind of bailed on their second plans, you know, congratulations. You know, it takes a lot of courage to bail on those plans and to make up a decision to be like, yeah, I can't do these 2 peaks, or, you know, maybe this is good enough for me. I'm exhausted. So once again, amazing.
It's about the journey.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Jeff Jotz and Orla broke trail on the Wanakee Ridge in Ramapo State. Wanakee. You see, I get these wrong.
Yeah. And let's just take a moment to laugh. Anybody that's talking about breaking trail in New Jersey, okay, is it Wanakee Ridge? Is that like on the Jersey Shore? Was he breaking trail along the beach in the sand at low tide? Is that what Jeff is talking about, or is this actually on like a mountain ridge line with snow? Because when you
Ramapo is pretty nice.
Yeah, it is, but still, I mean, this is New Jersey.
They got a good amount of snow.
Do they? Okay. I'll take your word for it.
If you guys got a good amount of snow, it went like right up through New Jersey up into New York. So they got around the same amount of it, like snow.
All right. If you say so. You're in the ITL weather headquarters looking at our color radar screen and the ISO bars and all that crap. So
true.
I'm going by you and our resident meteorologist. What's your dog's name again?
Mine? Dahlia.
Oh, okay. So she's looking at the weather profiles right now.
She's good. She's good at that. So Nigel, aka Farrell Howells, went up Panther on negative temperatures with the 3500 club. So I remember him saying that he was on the way to meet them, but didn't think he would meet them, and then he caught up with them. So it's pretty cool. So Nigel, awesome. So Sam Dean, aka SM Dean, 9890 broke trail up and over Balsam Mountain with his friends Mike and Sarah. So they did the loop and they broke trail for everybody else. So thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. Thanks for tagging the show. Good to see somebody else tagging it. Mike at Red Hand Adventure Guides did Giant Ledge and Panther. So a lot of people out doing Panther this weekend, kind of getting at the probably the 3500, the winter peaks for the 3500 club. So you never know. Everybody is doing some different stuff. And then Joe Kapklowski, once again, sorry, I just broke into this. So on Monday, he took advantage of the long weekend, took his second trip up as many days. He called this vertical madness, as we know from Alex, my friend, saying vertical madness for all of the Catskill hikes. He ran into several hikers on his way up, which was unexpected, and had a great time. He saw Brad again and Matt, and hopefully this traverse was safety. And Joe pointed out on his last post that when he went up Sugarloaf, he had some trouble with his gloves and stuff, that he didn't wear the proper gloves going up Sugarloaf. And unfortunately, near the top, he had some problems with his hands, that his hands were getting cold and he couldn't kind of like recover from that. And since he wore the improper gloves, the recovery and such was difficult. Luckily, he had some friends to help him out, and he admitted to what he did wrong, which will help people. Once again, like your social media post could reach, 100, 200 people. That's 1,000 people. That is a big difference. People could read this and be like, damn, I got to make sure that I have the right gloves. And that's I talked to him about it. That's a big thing. Your hands, once again, they get cold. It takes a long time for them to recover. And then that's also your drinking weapon, your eating weapon. So that keeps your calories, your hydration and shit. It's tough.
Also navigating, right?
Yeah,
You're
correct.
Using your hands for navigating, as well as sending a message if you have to. My take on his post, I didn't speak to him personally, and having hiked up that very mountain along that very face the day before, is inevitably you're going to be making a lot of hand snow contact, trying to get up and over some of these little vertical obstacles going up. So your gloves are just going to wet out along the way up. And I usually in the winter plan on changing my gloves on a snowy day like Saturday for each summit I get to. It's kind of like standard fare just to swap out my gloves. He apparently wetted out, I take it from his report, before he hit the summit, but kept the gloves on. And your fingers get cold and then you lose your dexterity. And so, getting out a new pair of gloves, putting them on and off with wet hands just becomes pretty problematic. So, but fortunately, look, he had a spare set of gloves with him and he was on the situation. It worked out for him. And so he was the most important part. He was able to do a Instagram post and at the end tag ITL Catskill Mountain Podcast. And that's all that matters. If you're getting hauled out on the gurney, just make sure you tag us with a shot of your feet, and a couple rangers holding the gurney on either side of it. And we're happy.
Yeah. I agree. And have the Rangers smile and throw up like a peace sign or something like that. As
long as they have inside the line gear on, we're happy. We're fine with that.
Yeah. Get a hold of me if you want some gear. I'll see what I can do. So thank you everyone for tagging us, and hope you had a good time out in that beautiful snow that we had, nice fluffy snow.
Yeah.
And we'll all talk. Go ahead.
So my take on this is I only counted 8 tags. We've had over 20 the past couple weeks, 20 per episode, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems like not a lot of people got out this past weekend. I'm wondering to what extent the abundance of fresh snow is a deterrent to people getting out. So
a lot of, it's funny you say that, you look on social media, and for some reason that Catskill Trail Conditions page, everybody asks if the trail is broken out. And I wanted so bad. I just want to be like, who gives a crap? You're going to have to wear snowshoes anyway. I understand if you don't want to break trail, but you're going to have to bring them anyway.
Yeah.
And what is it? Decency, to keep that trail packed and to be a hard rail instead of pounding through it.
Yeah. Well, I think some people might want to know also, just from the standpoint of how much distance they're going to be able to cover. If they got a break trail, they're going slower. They presumably can't cover as much distance. And then it becomes a factor in terms of, do I drive over to do Panther because I think it's going to be broken out and I'm going to be able to get up and down relatively easily, as opposed to going over and doing Wyndham and it's not going to be broken out, and once I get to Wyndham and I see it's not broken out, where do I go? Blackhead? That's not going to be broken out. It's going to be harder. So I think it helps people plan to know what others have done. This time of year, when I'm driving over, I'm always looking into the woods to see where the snow line is. And I also look at the ski area reports to see how much snow they report having received during the week. To me, it's a fair indication of the suffering that lies ahead.
Correct.
I think you have to take into account too, a lot of folks are not super comfortable with single digits and below zero too. I think that this weekend was especially cold for the high peaks.
I think this weekend showed an all-around experience to winter weather. We're not talking just cold. We're talking about high depth of snow, the extreme cold, because everybody was starting out in the negative temperatures. And then luckily there wasn't wind, but there was some sunshine. So everybody was doing a different kind of trail experience somewhat.
Mm-hmm. And let's not forget, we'll just throw this reminder out there for those of you who didn't hike this weekend but are planning to go up this coming weekend. Make sure that your battery in your car is strong, or you have, like, I have a battery pack that I carry in my Jeep to jumpstart it. Like, I'm all the time coming back to the trailhead, the parking area, the only vehicle there, or the only one that's there, and there's nobody else around their car. And it's kind of a hell of a thing to have been on the mountain all day hiking. You're tired, you're getting cold, the sun's going down, you want to go home, but your car doesn't start because the battery's been sitting there all day in the cold, and that's what really sucks the juice out of it. So you can buy one of these, just like a huge battery pack. I say huge, it's like the size of a brick that can jumpstart your car. I think they're around $120. They're really, really easy to use, a lot easier than jumper cables. So I encourage everybody, have one of those, bring it with you. Charge it up frequently during the winter, so when you do need it, it's not dead. But there you go.
Yeah.
Another pro tip from the Inside the Line podcast staff.
Nice. I mean, my car just starts when I get in and I just roll downhill, and it's good.
Yeah, you're driving a battery pack on wheels. Okay?
I know. It's they call it a refrigerator on wheels, which I don't mind. My refrigerator can beat any car out on the road, which is pretty embarrassing.
That's because you don't have heat in it in the winter. It doesn't have
True.
heat.
Everybody says that. Dude, I have that heat blaring, and I'm just like, well, not really. When going to the trailhead, be bold, start cold. So that's what I do. I seriously have the heat down low as I can. Be bold, start cold. On the way home, freaking blaring 85 degrees, just sitting there and just enjoying it and being like that. But no way. On the way, it's always be bold, start cold.
Yeah.
It's be bold, be Todd bold, start cold. That's what I say.
For sure.
All right. So also, if you want to support the show and think we're doing a good job, buy us a hard cider and buy me a coffee. It's called Buy Me a Coffee, but I put it to hard ciders. Rate the show. We've gotten several ratings in the past, few weeks. So I thank everybody who's rated the show. It's pretty cool to see. I'll have to share it once in a while, but I get like a little thing. The last group was the name is a little Armach XXX epic. Thanks for an epic podcast. Love the banter, love the intro, love the humor, and always excellent guests. So that's a great thing to hear. It's good to have that pat on the shoulder. So cool thing. So Tad, it's the first in the week.
Oh, yeah. So it's first Tuesday of the month, which is No Brew Tuesday for me. I stand in solidarity with those who, for whatever reason, choose to be non-alcoholic.
And so thank you, Tad. That's powerful. Really appreciate it. And so, Chris, what do you got going, buddy?
Well, I drink much weaker than you guys, obviously, but that's some Roscoe OTG, Roscoe Beer Company. So off the grid.
Oh, did you pop it open yet?
No, I thought we were supposed to wait.
Do it right now. Yeah. That's you.
Yeah,
it's me. All right, cool. Beautiful.
Nice. All right. I heard a little bit. But all right, I'm gonna pop mine open. Hold on, and then I have it all on set. There we go. Sounded good. All right, go ahead. Talk about yours, Chris.
Yeah. Why should we buy this?
Well, it is a local company out of Roscoe. They also have the Roscoe Mountain Club, which is up above town there. Local brewery. It's been around for a couple of years. We do a couple of things with them. Some of the folks in Roscoe fly fishing community, they hold some fly tying nights and some presentations. They have a nice beer garden, so if you're fishing on the weekends, gets busy. They serve some great food till late. And just kind of like a cool spot to hang out. It's got a great vibe, and everybody there is cool. And 90% of the people in town are there for the fishing. So it's great.
Yeah. Now, is that in downtown Roscoe itself?
So that's going to be outside of Roscoe. If you go up 206, if you're going toward Delaware County, up toward the back that way, but it's not very far. It's right next to where the Rockland House is.
Okay.
So
It's not. I'd still consider that Roscoe. That to me, that's Roscoe. Going out when you start up towards
Roscoe. It's not downtown Roscoe. I mean,
True.
Right.
Yeah. I meant that a little facetiously. Downtown Roscoe. I think it has a blinking light in downtown.
No, actually, it's a full light.
Yeah, they've upgraded. Okay. So, and what is the OTG? Is that like an IPA?
It's a lager. It's light.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
What's the last question? The alcohol content.
I know, right.
4 point.
And that's
so
up there. It's nice.
It's low test. Okay. Sorry, Chris. Anything below 5.
I'm not a huge beer guy. So
okay.
That's okay.
He prepared for the show. That's all that matters. So awesome. Yeah, Roscoe Beer Company. I've been there a couple times because when I go down to like the Denning area, that's where I have to travel through. So I'll stop back at the Roscoe Beer Company, get some of my friends some beers, or have I think they have Hudson North there as well, and some Catskill brewery and stuff. They're a very good variety. And like I seriously don't think that's still Roscoe. Once you hit over that bridge, what was the bridge of the river that comes down through there? That's outside of Roscoe.
Beaverkill, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's when you get outside of Roscoe. That's when I see all the bald eagles. They're sitting right out of the Beaverkill. It's beautiful stuff.
Eating roadkill.
Correct. They're our garbage cleanup. Them and the vultures are our garbage cleanup.
Yeah. The national bird.
Yes.
That's sad.
So I'm having a Hudson North peach mango. I saw this at my local liquor store, so I have not had this, and it's amazing. It's only 5%, so I'm going to have to get a little stronger one later on. So, all right. So let's move on to previous hikes. I do not have anything. I haven't been on previous hikes. I've been very busy for the past week. So unfortunately, I'm sorry. My previous hikes were involving me get snow blindness from walking to my car to work. So
is part of your recent busyness, aside from attending to mom's needs, is it writing that stellar article that you're submitting to the Catskill Center?
Yes. That was actually not that bad. Thank you for participating in that. You helped me out.
All I did is read over it, but it's already getting stellar reviews, and it hasn't even been put in final form. So folks, look forward to that. Stosh has got an interesting article coming in the forthcoming, I think it's the spring edition of the Catskill Center's journal. And then, Stosh, do you realize what we forgot? Do you know what the second was yesterday?
No. What was it?
Punxsutawney Phil.
Oh, God, yeah.
Groundhog Day, right? So, Chris, maybe you know, because you were nodding your head up and down. Did Punxsutawney Phil see his shadow yesterday? And
it'll be another 6 weeks. So.
Yeah. Punxsutawney Phil came out of his box or crate or whatever fake contraption they use down there, saw his shadow, which predicts 6 more years of winter. I mean, 6 more weeks.
Wait, what? That's a little crazy.
We're talking about ending winter hiking.
What was that movie called? The
Groundhog Day.
No, the
Bill Murray. Yeah.
No, the one that was like the instant winter happened 2 days after the day after tomorrow. That's what it sounded like. You were just like 6 more years of winter. Slam.
Yeah. Back when I was a skier, I would have taken that. So all right. So you want to hear what I did on Saturday?
Sure. I was gonna let's go with Chris first.
Let's do Chris first.
Chris is going to talk about his recent. You tagged us in the show. Thank you very much. But let's talk about that. Let's go into full depth about that.
Sure, not inside the line. It was outside it. It was on the Gunks. So Cox Road Loop, which is just south of 52. So it's above Ellenville. So if you're coming through Ellenville, you know where the hang gliders are. Just south of there. It's on state land. They have a nice little trail. It's about 3.5 miles. Got a little bit of elevation. It's the closest place to my house. So I got out yesterday morning for a little bit, and I fully expected it to be broken. Had a nice little trench for the first half a mile, and then it looked like everybody just got tired of walking.
Interesting.
Yeah, so going up the ridge I followed somebody's tracks, just a single, and then got up to the top of the ridge, and they went to the right. I was going to the left, and it was 3 to 4 feet of drifts, and I tapped out after about a half mile, I'd say.
Well, yeah, it's one single person is difficult, God, once again, like a week ago, I did 2 people, and then it was just, and then Tad is going to brag about his freaking day. Like, God damn, okay, this is but amazing, Chris. So, like, that trail, what can you say about that trail? Like, do you have views? Do you have not views? You're inside.
Yeah, the trail's great up there. I mean, that's that ridge trail right there is where they do that. The SRT, there's a race they do every year, basically from New Jersey all the way up to Rosendale. But for the most part, when you're on that ridge, it's all the dwarf pines. So nice. You've got the Catskills off to your west, and then looking to the east, Hudson Highlands. You'll see the Hudson River basically almost the whole time. So yeah, really, really scenic hike up there. And it's a lot of just, it's the gunks. So it's all rock, very little gravel or leaves. So it's a cool experience. But it's close, and it gets used pretty often. It's a great little, like, if you got a couple hours, just run out real fast and got a couple miles. And at Sam's Point, which is, of course, the more famous of the areas over there, is full, which it quite often is. It's a good backup.
Nice. And Tad, you've been there before, right?
I know exactly where this is, and I live relatively close to it. One of the things that is pretty cool about that in terms of the gunks, it's one of the few places on the ridge that you can actually camp.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So there's also further south from there, there's a fire tower.
Yes.
Which you can almost drive your car to by taking Fire Tower Road. Just drive to the end of the road where the gate is, and you can just go up there. Great place to catch an afternoon sunset. Look out and watch the hand gliders, the gliders, and birds of prey. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool place. Okay, so you want to hear what I did on Saturday? Because I want to talk about it for the next 25 minutes.
Oh, no, right. Tad.
All right, so I'll condense it. I'll condense it down to 3.
No, it's understandable. I seriously can't fathom how you did this by yourself. This is insane. So please go into depth.
At age 63.x.
Jesus.
So I'm closing in on 63 and a half. When you get my age, you start counting it like that. So, all right. So, I'm working on Grid 2.0. And this was the last weekend of January. And when you're gridding, you're thinking about closing out the month. That's really important to you. And what's equally as important to you is if you don't close out the month before the end of the month, is leaving that month open going to extend your grid another year?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to finish the grid probably for the next year and a half. So finishing the grid this January finishing or closing out January wasn't important to me this year. So I had 4 mountains to do, all from the eastern side of the Devil's Path. And so I had to decide which ones do I pick. So I started off, my initial impression was I'm going to try to bang out Sugarloaf and Plateau, but because I didn't need to close out the month the next January 2027, I'd have plenty of time to bang out those 4 if I needed to. I decided what was more important than finishing 2 mountains on Saturday. What was more important to me was a long hike, breaking trail in this snow, because it wasn't heavy snow. It was light snow. So it would be easier to break trail through, but it wouldn't be good, if good at all, for getting grip and traction going uphill. So I decided from Roaring Kill, not Minkalo, but from Roaring Kill, to hike in and do Plateau and Sugarloaf, but definitely to do Sugarloaf if those 2 mountains weren't in the cards. So, I get to the Roaring Kill parking area. It's all plowed out. It's really clean. It looks like they plowed it out earlier that morning or late the day before. So I threw the snowshoes on right in the parking lot because, as you know, Stosh, from your experience that prior Tuesday, the minute you leave the plowed parking area, you're in the deep snow, right? So I had my snowshoes on. I climbed over the snowbank. I started out on the trail. No tracks. Nobody had signed in the book since the prior weekend, the 23rd. And so I had untracked terrain ahead of me all the way out to the junction with the Devil's Path. And I hadn't hiked through that forested area in quite a while. When I say quite a while, probably 18 months to 2 years since I had hiked through there. But I wanted to go through there because you go through a really, really nice hemlock forest. You actually kind of wind through it going uphill. Chris is nodding his head up and down because, it's really sweet to hike through there. And it was untracked. It was dead quiet because of how the snow dampened all the sound. But one of the things I was noticing on the way out is when you start doing these small and really not steep uphill grades, there is like zero traction going uphill. And obviously, when you hit Sugarloaf or Plateau, that's going to be a big factor in how hard it is to be able to get uphill and how fast or slow you're going to be able to go. So I'm thinking about that on my way out, and I'm saying to myself, if I had to decide between Sugarloaf or Plateau, which of the two would I want to do as opposed to doing them both? So I'm running that through my head from time to time as I'm enjoying that kind of like steady pace on the way out. And as I approach the junction, I decide I'm going to do Sugarloaf as opposed to Plateau. And the reason I'm going to do Sugarloaf is I really think it's just got a better view at the top. You kind of hike more through a evergreen or balsam fir tunnel as you get further up. And so that's what I did. I banked a left. I started going uphill. And you start hitting more pitch as you're going uphill before you get to 3,000 feet where that first ledge is, which is somewhat notorious for Sugarloaf. But I get there, I see there's intermittent tracks as I go up. Well, tracks or more so a trench. To me, it's evident that the last people in the trench, there had to be a number of them because it was really smooth. And you could tell from any remnants of a snowshoe outline, they were headed downhill when they went through there. So they weren't pushing their snowshoe into the snow and pushing off of it to get uphill and creating steps. They were smoothing it out as they came down. But it was intermittent. It wasn't continuous all the way up. And there's times where the snow was just so loose, unconsolidated, that you would punch through to your knee because you didn't know what was underneath it. You could go between the voids and some rocks or something. But at any rate, I get to the little ledge, the one I'm talking about, Stosh, at about 3,000 feet.
Yep.
So I get there and it's covered in snow. You don't know where the ice is and where it isn't until you start like wiping away the snow. And it's all ice, other than right underneath that birch tree. Right. So my snow, the ice is so hard, but thin, you can't get your snowshoe into it to get any bite to get uphill. So I literally had to like brush the snow away and dig out the roots of this tree to use that as like handholds to get up and use the tree, basically to get myself up and over that. But once I got up and over it, that was the hardest obstacle of the day, getting up there. The other inclines were somewhat problematic. Actually, one of them on my way down, it looked like I did like a snow angel to get up it. I had like my full body contact on the surface of the mountain. My hands were out, to my sides, flailing back and forth. And I was like, kicking my legs, crying like mommy, mommy, or something like that, trying to get up the hill. And that area did work. So, but also going up, I was pretty, in terms of temperature, I was pretty comfortable. I kept pacing myself. I had a decent pace. It wasn't all that tiring, but it took forever to get up there. Not because I was taking breaks to recover, but because there were some spots that literally you could double kick, triple kick, quad kick in your snowshoe and then put your weight on it. And that platform that you thought you created would just give way and you would slide down to your other boot, right? So in one sense, I really think it's almost like I climbed 2 or 3 mountains on Saturday, right? Because I kept like doing double and triple kick-ins with my foot to go up, and then it would slide down, and then you try it again, you go down. So I think the key to getting up Sugarloaf in this light snow that wasn't grippy, wasn't biting to what's underneath it, because if it's really dry, it doesn't stick to what's underneath it. So I just had kind of like this slow pace, being careful not to let my feet or snowshoes slide as I was going up. But there were some areas, it was almost kind of like ridiculous how difficult it was to get up some of these smaller lifts. But nonetheless, I eventually, you get to that certain point where the grade starts to level off. You get to that little clearing. The trees are getting smaller now. Then you do the little tunnel walk to the unmarked, unofficial summit of Sugarloaf. And I turned around. And again, there were spots where it was trenched, but I would still, in those trenched areas, I would still sink down 4 to 6 to 8 inches. It was kind of ridiculous. It was what was the point of it being a trench, I thought. So at any rate, I turn around, I go down to the lookout. Nobody had been out to look at the lookout. So I broke trail to the end of that lookout area. And I kind of took a long time out there. I got my dry gear out to get it warmed up in the sun. I kind of warmed up in the sun. I started to layer up for the descent. I'm going to guess it took me about 2 hours to get to the top. And so I changed my gloves. I put a fleece on, and, I carb up, I fluid up, and I turn around and I get ready for my descent. I was down to the junction in under 30 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just basically.
Were you butt sliding? Were you sliding?
No. I at my age, you do not butt slide. Okay.
Yeah, you can hit your back, and then your back. Understandable.
So I basically, on the way down, because the snow was just so soft and so smooth, and there was enough depth, that I basically tele-skied down on my snowshoes. And I flew down there. And I had in my mind thought that there would come points on the way down that I would take my snowshoes off and change to spikes because of the ice that was underneath the snow and how much snow I had kicked out in these areas to try to get up them, particularly that one at the 3,000 feet. I thought I would have to put my spikes on to get down it. But not only did I not have to put my spikes on to get down any of this stuff, when I did get to that ledge, and I went further to the north on it than where I had gone up it initially. And I had so much fun skiing down it, I actually skied down like an extra 20, 30 yards into the woods. And then I realized that no way am I busting out trail down to the junction. So I hiked back uphill and made the trail. And so as I'm doing the 3.4 mile hike back to my Jeep through that lovely hemlock forest, and I start getting to the few uphill grades. Like there's that one at the lookout where there are notches for, I think it's the DEP land or whoever has that land there that you go around. As I'm going up that, I'm just like, now it's just like every ounce of energy has been sucked out of my body. Okay. I've tried all of the cheap tricks that I have in my backpack to like get a boost. I'm downed caffeine. I've downed chocolate, all the cheap calories I can put in my body to get a little boost up. I can't do it. And you know what I'm thinking to myself? You know what I'm thinking that I would love to have right now?
Towards coffee?
No. I mean, I had coffee and hot cocoa in my thermos, which was actually real tasty. But what I really, really wanted was a pair of those battery-powered boost pants.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine those? Like, I was thinking, like, I should have auxiliary power now. I should be able to like pull out of my backpack these things to throw on my legs. And all of a sudden, I'm just like striding like an 18-year-old guy out of the woods back to my Jeep. I would have, I would have thought that would have been so cool. So, yeah, that was it. I set out to have like an epic winter snowshoe hike, tackled one summit, got back to my Jeep at 4, so I was on trail almost 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long day. It was a tiring day, but it was just beautiful
you said you
conditions to get out
summited
there.
in like 2 hours. That doesn't
No, once I got to the junction with the Devil's Path, it took me 2 hours to get up
see,
Sugar
okay,
Loaf.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
When in the summer you're up at it in 45 minutes.
Yeah, is easily. Yeah. And so, you talk about hitting that one part of the Minkalo to Roaring Trail. Mm-hmm. Like, I got to admit, any time of the year that sucks because you're going back uphill a little bit and you're going downhill a little bit. And it kind of gets to that feeling. Once again, you're being sucked of your energy and you still have like 2 miles to go. And it sucks.
Yeah. I find when you get out of that hemlock forest on your way back, all you're thinking about is getting to your car. I don't
Absolutely.
care how many times I've hiked out of that woods, and how strenuous or easy the hike was. You're just like, why the fuck do I have to hike another mile to my car? Okay. When I could have parked at the end of Minkalo Road and I could be on my way down 28 already. But
why do you want to do people like I'm like, I love doing this loop. But then at that one part of the Minkalo to Roaring Kill, I'm just like, fuck this. Yeah. Like, I cannot stand that. I've done it so many times. Why am I so stupid?
Yeah. Well, your wife can answer the second part of that for us. But I think the hemlock forest is really sweet there, particularly the way you wind through it and you have those different grade changes. I think that's nice. The other thing is when you hike through there, you can really tell where the old farm was because of the change in the forest. I mean, the younger trees are in that lower elevated flat area, where the trail junction is to go to the east side of Sugarloaf versus the side I was on the west side. All of that at one time was just farmland, open farmland for grazing and growing crops, and now it's all grown over. You'll find some old farmer walls, stone walls back there. I've tried to find like the home site back there and stuff. Haven't found it yet, but it's a really great mountain. I know why a lot of people love Sugarloaf. It's the summit's really nice. It's got a great view. It's an enjoyable hike. I mean, it's got the right blend of pitch, distance. And if I was just out peak bagging, I would have parked at the end of Minkalo and tried to bang out the two. But like I said, I'll put this down as maybe one of the top 5 winter hikes I've ever done.
Nice. So, yeah. And we know, Chris, you mentioned before that you're a 3,500, so you kind of know this trail, of course, right?
Yeah, I do. Yep. 2149. I think that's my number.
Oh, nice. Before me. Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did a lot back in the day, and I wish you would have done Plateau because that is my last one I have this winter for my winter round. So
plenty of people did Plateau, buddy. Like, so where are you looking to go from Minkalo?
We'll see what the weather looks like. But yeah, probably Minkalo. That's 32 out of 33 for me.
Wow.
Have you ever hiked in on the Warner Creek Trail?
The south side?
Yes. It would be, from the southwest side.
Southwest,
out of Lanesville, that area. What is it called? Not Diamond Notch, but there's some notch.
It's a little.
The Diamond Notch Road? Is that the road right
there?
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. No, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's on the list in the summer when that's not broken out. Nobody's going to break out Warner Creek right now.
Well, it all depends. It all depends what you're. Well, within a couple weeks, anything that's not broken over, the snow backpack is going to consolidate down to like 6 inches of this 12 inches, 18 inches of loose snow is going to consolidate into like 6 inches. And then we're going to get like a rain event or a couple really warm days, and that top layer is going to get really, really crusty. And then you want your snowshoes on so you don't punch through it.
It'll be interesting, but good, Chris. Yeah, that'll be nice. I hope you do it from Mink Hollow and then do that 2-mile hike to Danny's Lookout and stuff. Ooh, God, that is
the whole summit
magical.
I love the summer walk. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In the summer, it's absolutely fun. I all year round. That plateau is unbeatable with kind of like the solidarity or like seclusion and stuff like that. You just feel like it's somewhere else. So yeah, awesome. So Tad, awesome. Everybody had a great experience. Sorry I wasn't out. So,
look, you got all this podcast stuff to do.
I know. Yeah. So got to keep up with this. Got to keep up with the Catskill news. So volunteer, New York, New Jersey Trail Conference 3500 Club, Catskill Trail Crew, Catskill Mountains Club, Visitor Center, Jolly Rovers Trail Crew, Brambly Mountain Fire Tower. So volunteer wherever you can. It helps out a lot. Also, if you want free stickers, let me know. I will send you them for free. So Chris, let me know your address. I'll send it to you for free. 100% free. All right, so let's get into the weather forecast. Let's check out the weekend weather forecast brought to you by me. Overall, this weekend is looking extremely chilly, so bring your extra layers, down jackets, and extra gloves because it is going to be chilly. On Friday, February 6th, expect high of 14 degrees, a low of 9 degrees, and a wind chill of negative 11 degrees with partly cloudy skies throughout the day. On Saturday, with mostly cloudy skies, expect a high of 3 degrees, a low of negative 4, and a wind chill of negative 35 degrees. Bundle up and bring your layers. It is critical. On Sunday, expect sunny skies with a high of 1 degree, a low of 0, and another chilly day with wind chills reaching up to negative 26 degrees. So once again, layer up, be safe, be smart, and don't become tomorrow's rescue story. All right, so let's get into the last set of sponsors, and then we'll get on to Chris. So discover Camp Catskill in Tannersville, your ultimate hiking store. Find top quality gear, apparel, and accessories for all your outdoor adventures. Our expert staff is to help every hiker from beginners to seasoned pros. We also carry a variety of unique Catskill souvenirs and gifts. Visit us online at campcatskill.co or in the store to gear up for your next journey. Adventure starts at Camp Catskill. Also, embark on a transformative journey with Another Summit. Another Summit is dedicated to serving veterans and first responders with free outdoor activities. Activities like walks in nature, paddling, hiking, and even backpacking. Join our supportive community to rejuvenate in nature's embrace. Experience camaraderie, adventure, and healing at no cost. Take your next step with Another Summit and to ascend to new heights of resilience and joy. Apply today at anothersummit.org. All right, so let's welcome on the guests of the night.
Let's go.
So tonight, fly fisher Chris Gallagher joins us to talk about, of course, fly fishing in the Catskills. So Chris has been a fly fisher in the Catskills for how many years now? You said over 25 years, right?
Oh, I've been living here for 25 years, but I started fishing the Catskills when I was a kid, probably in the early 90s.
Wow. So early 90s, we're talking about... God, I hate to say it, 30 years ago. God, that hurts really bad. So
it really does, yeah.
we're all like, God damn, that's 30 years ago.
You guys got a long way to go before it starts hurting.
Oh, come on. So Chris joins us tonight, talk about fly fishing. Of course, Roscoe, fly fishing capital of the world, Trout Town, USA. We have the best fly fishing here in the Catskills. And I know it's popular, a lot of people know about it and stuff, but not a lot of the hikers and stuff and the the people that, like listen to the podcast know in depth about the fly fishing. I don't. So I'm curious to learn a little bit more tonight with Chris. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to ask a lot of questions. Chris is going to go in depth about his Catskill fly fishing experience in the Catskills and freaking other places like all around the world Chris has been, and the comparisons of now and then in the 90s of fly fishing. So Chris, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, wonder to have you. Glad we can hook up and do this. Once again, I thank social media for this because, I saw like Catskill fly fisher comes on my thing. I'm like, ooh, Catskill fly fisher. We can chat about this and stuff like that. This would be great. Another fly fisher. And then Chris your background is just absolutely insane. And we can go in depth about this. Your Team USA fly fishing. You've been a fly fisher here in the Catskills since you were a kid. So once again, how about you give a little background about yourself? Go totally in depth about it and let everybody know who you are.
Sure, thanks. So I grew up in Virginia. I went through high school down there. I was actually born down in Staten Island, but we moved when I was a kid. Got into fly fishing, got the bug down there in high school, caught it from my brother. So I spent a lot of time up in the Shenandoah Mountains. I was pretty close to where we grew up and fishing for brookies up in the hills. And then when I got through high school, I joined the Army. I went on the Army for about 10 or 11 years on active duty. So I had the fortune of doing a lot of hiking there. I was in the infantry, not exactly the type of fun hiking we do now, but 30 days at a pop, carrying 100 pounds of gear and staying outside for a couple of weeks at a time. So kind of enjoyed doing that for a career for quite some time, and intermingled with that, I got to fish a lot of cool different cool places, and ended up being stationed up in Fort Drum, so northern New York. Toward the end of the 90s. And in that time, didn't realize how close and how cool the Adirondacks were. So I started to make my way out there every single weekend to in that area. And then did a lot of fishing, but then also got bit by the hiking bug just a little bit while I was out there. I did a couple of high peaks there. And when my time was up in the service, I decided to stick around. And I have family in the Catskills and had been coming up here for years, and decided to settle down here and right around 2000.
No, excellent. So now you're talking about you doing 100 pounds for this amount of time. I gotta stop complaining about the shit that I carry that's like 40 pounds and start being just like, yeah, I need to. I always thought this. Once again, I hiked with another summit who had veterans and stuff like that over the Pemi Loop and stuff. I was complaining about the rain and maybe like a 30-pound pack, and then I look at these guys who have been through the depths of the hell and stuff, and I'm just like, God, I gotta stop whining. I got nothing. And you talk about this, it's 100 pounds through 30 straight frickin' days. Now, can you, like, what is in that 100 pounds?
Oh, you got to remember, on top of your regular gear that keeps you sustainable, right? So you're just looking at all the stuff you carry normally. Think about a normal hiking trip. What do you got? Sleeping bag, right? Shelter, all that stuff. You're going to add water to that. You're going to add your food. We're going to add all the equipment we need to do whatever mission it is. So batteries, ammunition, stuff for your weapons, and then personal protection. So your helmet, you talk about night vision, you'll talk about your plate carrier, knee pads, chemical gear. So the list goes on and on and on. So your basic load without a backpack on is probably 60 to 70 pounds. Then you add your ruck, which is going to be, depending on your job, a whole lot. So I absolutely love hiking, but my body at this point is starting to tell me no. My knees are constantly an issue in my back, and it's all good.
So do you feel the difference of course, in hiking in the Army than you do now, and you're just like, God, this is a breeze compared to that? I mean, we're of course we've aged, our knees, hiking with 100 pounds really kind of kills you and stuff. So
yeah.
And you feel that? Do you feel like once again hiking now is a breeze, or is it just still is just as difficult as hiking, when you were younger and 100 pounds?
I guess the big difference is I can stop now whenever I want, which is cool.
True.
When you're doing it in the military, usually there's an objective, and you're with a group of people, and you can't let them down. So, whatever, if it hurts, you just got to push through it. Here, if my knee starts to hurt, I can go, you know what? Cool. Let me walk back to the car. So, I've learned with age that sometimes it's not the best to kill yourself, and I've definitely done a few turnarounds on Catskill Peaks where I haven't hit my turnaround time, or the conditions weren't what they should be.
Yeah. That I just, once again, I have like hiked with veterans and stuff like that. Like, it's just, I should stop complaining about the shit that I got to do and realize the stuff that they've done. And I'm just like, God damn. All right. So
Complaining is all part of it. That's why it's type 2 fun, right?
yeah, correct.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah. So now, tell us about Trout Town Flies. So are you in with this? Like, do you work for this company? You volunteer with them?
Yeah, so I volunteer with them. Trout Town Flies is a fly shop out of Roscoe. Years ago, it was actually called Catskill Flies. The old owner, Dennis, was a dry fly, which is a very unique for fly fishing. He was a dry fly tire. Really well respected in the area. Fortunately, he passed away a couple years ago, and his lead guy, a gentleman by the name of Joe Rist, ended up taking the shop, renamed it into Trout Town Flies, which it's been for about 10 years now. And I've known Joe for quite some time, and so when he took over the shop, I do a lot of stuff with different group volunteering, and like to rep the shop, and they do a great bit of free courses for veterans. They do a women's course, which is sold out 3 or 4 times. Let me say it's free, but it's full 3 or 4 times a year. And really good part of the community over there. So I do a lot of work with them. Yeah, I enjoy that. So anytime I get an opportunity on social or anything like that, to give them a little shout, that's what I'll do.
Nice. So this is located in Roscoe?
It is. It's right in the middle of town, Stewart Avenue, right next to the Italian restaurant at the One Light.
Nice. At the one. That's a typical Catskill town, baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
8 years ago, Roscoe had a movie theater, of all things, downtown. They've since torn it down. The building fell into a really deplorable state of disrepair, and it got bulldozed.
Okay.
Yeah. But, way back when, that's, during the summer at night, there was no Wi-Fi, no internet, no social media, and people would go downtown, watch the movies. So, Chris, understanding you've been around, why don't you tell us, and that you started fly fishing back in the 90s, how is it that fly fishing in the Catskills is different from other places that you fly fish? So tell us where else you've been and how that compares to the Catskills.
That's a great question. I've fly fished essentially everywhere on the East Coast. So every state on the East Coast, to include Florida and southbound. A lot of stuff in the Caribbean. I've done a lot of fishing out west, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Washington State, Colorado. I think the greatest thing about the Catskills is we have a lot of diversity in the water here. We have 2 types of rivers. We have our freestone rivers, which are just coming out of the Catskill Mountains. So let's say the Beaverkill or the Willowweemock, or even like Woodland Valley Creek. That's a freestone. And then once the New York City reservoir system, once you get to the dams, the East Branch and the West Branch, even the Neversink and the Roundout, below those dams, they become tailwaters. So they're controlled by bottom releases coming from the reservoir. So an area like Catskills, and I'm sure you might have heard this term before, the charm circle, talks about the amount of gold ribbon trout streams within the 75-mile radius of the Catskills, starting with Schoharie Creek in the north and going southbound all the way down to the Delaware River and the Neversink River. We've got all these different rivers that are incredibly diverse, and they are managed correctly, and if you can't do well on one stream, it's literally a half-hour drive to the next river or next stream. And if you're looking to fish a spring creek, you go to the Upper East Branch. If you're looking to go on a drift boat like you would out in Montana, you go out to the West Branch. You're looking for small trout up in the mountains, you can go up to some of the spots that we hike. I don't name small streams, but you guys know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Some of the places we go hiking and go up those trails, and you can catch little brook trout all day, and your heart's content. So a lot of diversity in the Catskills, and it's a little something for everybody.
So you're telling me that these like tiny streams that we talk about, the tributaries and stuff, you can still fly fish up there?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. You know,
Yeah.
to me, like with fly fishing, it requires, you know, I wouldn't say, once again, I am not educated in the area and of fly fishing. I would think that it requires wider stream basins and stuff like that for that, but I guess not. No shit.
There's a whole sect of fly fishermen that blue liners, they call themselves. They pride themselves on going into smaller creek in the blue lines and trying to find the remote brook trout they can, because a lot of the brook trout, especially above any of the physical barriers on some of these streams, have been there since the glacial time. Right? They are original trained brook trout. Brook trout used to be the only, well, they are the only native salmonoid to the Catskills, right? And I'm sure you guys have had people on talking about this, but the mid 1800s with the tanneries and the clear cutting of the hemlocks really destroyed all of the creeks in the Catskills. So the brook trout they were currently 100% of their range in the Catskills. They're now down to 15% of their range. All of those are up by your parking areas where we hike. So that's where you can go in there, and blue liners will consider a 6-inch fish a trophy fish, which is cool. It's their thing. It's a little bit different of an experience, but anything lower in the Catskills along the valleys of the bigger roads, that fishery it's an artificial fishery. And when I say artificial, meaning the rainbows and the browns have been stocked over the years and managed. Even if they're wild fish, it's still an artificial fishery in the means of that none of them are native species.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
So is fishing them any different than something that is like generationally old in terms of going back to, post the glacial meltwaters?
So it just depends on the person, right? So it's what makes you happy. So there's a lot of folks out there that will fly fish with bamboo rods, dry flies only. Their thing is they like to catch fish on the surface and in the springtime. And then there's folks that will fish for only wild fish. And we'll have folks that are just into native fish.
That's a good question. It's wild fish. Where can we find wild fish in the Catskills?
You got to go upstream.
Up above the fisheries, right?
Well, you go up the headwaters. I remember one time I was bushwhacking Graham. I don't know. Can we say that? This is pre-closure.
Forbidden.
Yeah, you can just bleep that out. So long ago, I was bushwhacking bleep, and so I am upstream of God. What is it? It's not the beaver kill that runs up there.
I forgot what that called.
But I'm off of the end of Black Bear Road.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm bushwhacking up bleep, and as I'm going up bleep, I run into this guy, like you said, with he looked like he had a stick, right? And I didn't see like a reel on it for reeling in. It was just like a stick with a long line. And I'm like, "Are you lost? What are you doing?" He says, "No, my aim is to catch a native trout as high up in elevation as I can in the Catskills." And that was his gig. Just like we peak bag, he goes around, tries to get as high up in the mountains as he can, and find these, what he was telling you, find these little pools, basins there. Says you can literally see the fish, and then you just throw out your line with the fly on the end, and they nibble at it, and you have your bun there. You slap some tartar sauce on it. You eat it with its head on, just like at McDonald's. All right, so some parts of that's embellished. But Chris, what I find interesting is, because I kind of get around in the Catskills, why is it I don't see these people more often? And I do a fair amount of blue lining, hiking up these water courses. Is it? I mean, because in the Catskills, you have all these people going after like the 100 highest or other peak bagging endeavors. How many people who fly fish in the Catskills are really into this esoteric stuff, or is it just that esoteric?
It is. So you're not going to see a ton of folks. The northern part of the Catskills, where the majority of our 3500s are, the majority of the steeper terrain, the season there is going to be a heck of a lot shorter, just because that water is going to be much colder. Some of those upper headwaters, those fish don't become actually like super active until the June timeframe, and it's a very short period of time. So you won't see quite as many people up there as you do in the southern Catskills, but then again, there's not as much hiking, right? So the two of them really don't intermingle too much. You will see folks fishing in the Hunter area, like Schoharie Creek or Westkill. Those are some of the spots that you'll see people out at. And for sure, if you drive up 28, you see people all over the Utopia. That's one of the more popular rivers in the Catskills. So as far as the small creek go, it is actually just it's a game that people like to play. They'll probably get away from the streams, and most of the time, those folks, if they're fishing and they're serious about them, they're probably going to be in camouflage also. So you're not going to see them sneaking along.
Yeah. You got to admit those streams once again. I think Tab, were you talking about the Mexico Brook?
That's it. That was
yeah. I remember hiking up from Tunis Pond up through there. That's a little area. Once again, you're probably going to be shot with a person on a helicopter. I would say more of a sniper if you go up that area, because it's Graham. They're going to take you out. So don't even try to go up there. So, Chris, you talk about the colder, I want to break into this, that just because you talked about the colder streams and stuff. Now, we had a little discussion with Toby Carey about this because he was a fly fisher and a fisher. And we had a discussion previously on an episode about, the differences of climate change. So, the colder temperatures in the rivers make the better trout fishing. And we are kind of losing that now. Now we are losing that. So, can you chat with us about, the warmer temperatures that are happening? What's that doing to our Catskill creeks and the trout?
Sure. So heat is definitely the enemy for trout. Trout, of course, are cold blooded, right? So their ambient temperature is the same as the stranded body temperature, right? Their metabolic rate is the best. Most trout, rainbow browns and brookies, there's a little bit of variance for each species, but it's generally in the high 40s to low 60s, right? Kind of the area they're more comfortable in. They can eat a little bit better. They can be more active. They can chase prey. It's their happy place, right? They make it very simple. Colder temperatures, they start to slow down a little bit, but they're built for that. So they'll just bottom up on the bottom of the river, and they'll get very stagnant and not move a lot. But once we start getting into the higher temperatures, when the rivers start getting above 60, 65, 66, 67, those fish start to get a little bit stressed. Once the river goes above 70 to 72, they're in thermal stress, right? So their bodies aren't prepared to take that because they are cold water species. So as we start to see increased temperatures during the summer, decrease in the rains, right? What happens? It's 90-degree day out. The river used to flow at 100 cubic feet a second. It's now at 10 cubic feet a second. It's going to warm up much faster, and those fish will actually start to become thermally stressed. And if they are fished for or, messed with in any way, that's going to increase that lactic acid, and eventually those fish will just. So we do have an increase in temperature overall, and we have a decrease in flow. That's going to have a negative effect on those. One of the biggest things was when the Catskills were clear cut back in the day, taking all that canopy away really increased the temperatures of the rivers as it got further and further down the valley, because you lost the shade that was provided by the trees. So I said in the late 1800s, pretty much a lot of the Catskills are just devoid of fish altogether. And that's why they started really heavy restocking back then.
Okay. Now we've seen this, like last year we had a crazy drought, like the amazing drought that was just totally, I would say it's somewhat catastrophic. I went up to Beaver Kill a couple times over in the Blackhead Range, and I didn't see shit. And that causes a huge decline in the trout population. Of course, these trout try to find the cold water areas, and then they try to like hide, but there's no place to hide. So then they try to go further upstream, and then they hit drought areas and they die. Is that what's going on? Like, what? Like, is this snowpack melt that we have a positive influence for all that?
So the more snowpack you have, the better season you're going to have, right? So it's going to keep the rivers fuller longer. It's going to keep the temperatures down. So it really starts in the winter and then kind of works its way forward. And last year, and I think 3 years prior to that, we had some temperatures in the Beaverkill and the Willowremock where they were in the mid 80s. And certainly the next season, you could see the effect of it. Low water, 80 degrees. It took a little bit for the fish to catch back up or repopulate. But it's like anything else. It's nature. It always finds a way, right? And with these cycles that we go through, you start to see some of these rivers repair themselves relatively fast.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So now, when you're hiking, you were fly fishing in the 90s compared to now. What are some of the differences you see with the 90s and now? I mean, that's 30-year difference. Like, what can you see?
Well, I would say that we're going to have a lot more folks in the sport now. It's kind of like the boom in hiking, right? I mean, COVID was also giant for fly fishing as it was for hiking.
Oh, wow.
You can't make any more streams, just like you can't make any more mountains, right? So the thing that we kind of run into now is, any of the major rivers, it's going to have, I don't want to say lack of a better word, but crowds. You're going to have some other folks out there. Not that it affects the fishing so much, but I think the experience is a little bit different because, 30 years ago, I could go fish on one of the rivers up in the Catskills midweek, and there's a good chance I'm not going to run into another person. And, you go out on a Tuesday now in May, there'll be 10 to 15 cars along one stretch of river. So I think that's made a little bit of a difference. I think it's catch-22, right? Because you have more people that are now into the conservation effort of it. But at the same time, the feeling of the community is a little bit different.
Chris, how does that change the fishing experience or how you bait and hook the fish, the trout, if you have a series of years where people are coming up, there's more fishermen out there fishing with modern gear, which presumably is designed to make it easier for them to catch fish. Are the fish becoming accustomed to that, becoming harder to catch? Or is that not a factor?
In some places, absolutely. All right. So just
how so?
Yeah. So to give you an example, some of the more remote streams that I'll fish that usually take a little bit more of an effort to get into, you're going to be dealing with some wary wild fish that are stream-born. They're very easy to be spooked, but at the same time, if you present the fly to them correctly and they don't think anything's up, they're going to eat. Right? It's not a hard thing to do. However, if you go up and fish some of the spots that are heavily pressured, and I'll use it's not a big secret, but like the West Branch of the Delaware, where in the summer you'll go up during the sulfur hatches, which is a small aquatic insect that comes off, it kind of lands on the surface and floats down as it dries its wings. The sulfurs look like little yellow mayflies. It's one of the most abundant hatches they have up there. You'll go to some of those pools and there'll be 20 to 30 fly fishermen standing in the pools waiting for these fish to rise. And I've been around long enough that now I'm starting to see that the trout, when they come up to look at the mayfly, we call it an inspection rise. They're basically looking to see if it's a legitimate food source. I've actually watched them come up and they'll swim backwards inspecting a natural fly and then swim back down without eating the natural. And that's a learned behavior, right? That is from getting a dozen times a year. When you see a fish starting to refuse a natural fly, obviously the pressure is probably a little too much. Now, the flip side of that is people will argue if the pressure is too much, that fish will just move, which is a possibility, but they're animals, so they're going to go to the place that is the best for them, feeding wise. It's more apt to give them the food sources and the comfort they need. So There has been a bit of a difference in that. It's like anything else. Like I said, it's a cycle.
Wow. So you're saying the fish are getting smarter?
In some places, yeah, I think they are.
That's insane. That's
So, all right. So before we move on from that topic, one of the things that I've asked our prior guests who are experienced in fly fishing, and I've gotten different answers, but I'm going to ask you, Chris. So you go out, you catch a trout in a stream, a river, the West Branch of the Delaware, wherever, and you're going to eat it. Right? You've eaten a trout from the Catskills before. How do they taste? Is it worth the effort? They good tasting?
True. So I am 99.9% catch and release.
Mm-hmm.
However,
wow.
Oh yeah. I fish barbless hooks. It's a resource, right? So I won't fish bait because bait will get into a trout's stomach and do some nasty stuff to them. And even barbed hooks or treble hooks will destroy their mouths, which you're not. It's a sport. You try to be as humane as you can. You're still sticking a pointy needle in their face. So a lot of folks don't understand it's a blood sport. Depends on the trout. Is a good question. If it's a stocked trout that the state puts in, put and take, so they're meant to come out, they're really not that great. However, if you are really high up in the Catskills and you get the opportunity to grab maybe a nice little plump brook trout or two, and you cook them on an open fire with some pine, probably the best fish you'll ever have.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what Toby Carey said.
Yeah.
He said the stuff that you catch below, where the people go fly fish all the time are absolute like shit, and he won't eat it. But then you go further up, and it's just absolute masterpiece.
I limit my catch a lot with that too. I only do that maybe once a year. If
I remember one of our guests telling us that the best tasting trout are caught in the reservoirs.
Toby did say that actually.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, that is cold, clear water, and that's what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's got a ton of grossness in it, the fish is going to taste like that. So,
okay, all right. So, Chris, we can. I'm going to get. This is like Jeopardy. You can choose tradition. Well, you can choose modern versus traditional fly fishing, or competitive fly fishing. Which would you rather talk about?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I'm more of a modern competitive fly fisherman than I'm true.
Okay, so I can understand that. Like, if you and I showed up at a track, a circular track, and we were going to run around the track, I could understand how that competition works. Right?
Sure.
First one to finish the distance or the number of times around is the winner. Okay. Same thing with the trail race. How do you score competitive fly fishing? How does that work?
Okay. I will try to keep this as simple as possible.
Do it because I know our listeners are bright and they're going to get it. They probably already know. But Stash and I between the two of us, our wives say we're just two idiots with microphones. So
I competed for my first year of competition. I still didn't understand how it went until you're in. So just to give you an idea.
All right, let's hear it.
But to break it down, essentially you take one piece of river, let's say it's a mile long. In that mile river, you break it up into sections. Those beats are anywhere between 100 and maybe 300 yards long, right, on a longer section. So that beat is then marked, the top and bottom of the beat, beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, so on and so forth. The number of beats depend on how many competitors you're going to have. So you have 4 sessions in one competition day. Those are 2-hour sessions. And so what will happen is, let's say 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., I'll fish and I'll have a competitor judge me as I fish. And basically it's based upon, depending on the competition, the number of fish you catch and their length. And it's all documented. Right? So then they assign certain points to the fish if they're doing that. Sometimes they just do it by number. Well, you have about a 45-minute break. Then we have our next 2-hour session where I'll then control someone else on a different beat. So all these beats will get fished several times in a day. And then you basically, at the end of the day, it's a composite score of how many you caught in those two. Get larger in competitions, they start adding, this is like beats in different sections of the river, and it goes on for a couple of days. So the scoring system is, I don't want to say it's chaotic, but there's a lot that goes into it. But it's kind of the best system they can do because the variables are so many. You could have somebody with their dogs swimming in the river you're trying to compete in. And it's all public property, so you can't, they have a competition, get out of the river, right? So you just go,
Oh, wow.
I'll just move along. Or you could have someone else fishing. We call them wreck fishermen, fishing in your beat. They have the same right you do to be there. So, you just kind of deal with it. But it all shakes out after, dozens of competitions, in different conditions. It will, your points will eventually shake out to where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically how many fish you catch and the length of those fish in your session.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Stosh, it's kind of like putt-putter mini golf.
Maybe, yes.
Yeah. So instead of a putter, you got a fishing pole. Okay, I guess I get it.
Okay.
No, so in preparing for this, Chris, because I do put a little effort into it, although I don't admit that I put any effort into it. I heard there's like also competitions where they judge you on your accuracy and like, I don't know if the proper word is casting your fly, but
Yes.
like you try to hit a target or in a ring, and there's different things like that. Why don't you tell us about that as well?
Wow.
So those are casting competitions. That's literally what they call them. So,
Makes sense.
And they base them on different things. Some are accuracy and some are distance. And then once you start going down that rabbit hole, they start going into accuracy and distance with a certain type of rod, whether it's a cane, bamboo traditional rod, or a composite rod, or a two-handed rod, which is used for fishing salmon. There's a whole bunch of different things that go into that.
Wow.
Yeah, those are casting competitions. The fishing that I do is a fly fishing competition. And then I think there's probably some other stuff out there. There's the thing they're doing out west right now. They're doing it's a trail race with fly fishing. So essentially you run out to a river, you bust out your fly rod, and then however many fish you catch takes minutes off of your overall time.
Wow. So this is great. Good job, Chris. Now you've created this shit that's going to happen in the Catskills. We're going to see people running along these areas with like rods in the back of their thing, and it's going to be a competition. Somebody's going to create a race. Great.
It actually might be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then I will leave out this section, and you're going to start this. Let's start Trout Town.
It's been talked. It's been talked about. So
I think Stosh and I recently, didn't we design live while we were recording like some hiking competition where you'd have to drink like every summit a hard cider or beer?
I think I heard that on one of the podcasts. Yeah, I was like, that's a really awful idea, guys.
No.
Awful.
We're going to call it like hike and barf or something like that.
Yeah. You take a selfie at every summit with the beer and stuff like that. It's
with your throw up on your
there's nothing wrong with
wicking jersey. Okay,
I've thrown up on the summit. So
Chris, we've talked about fly fishing in competition with beats and casting accuracy. Why don't you tell us about Team USA, particularly because the Olympics, I think, are starting tomorrow. The Winter Olympics.
That's right, they are. So currently I am now a former member of Team USA.
Wow.
Montana this last year or this last summer, and didn't work out to me for very well. I ended up coming up a little short on points, but essentially Team USA is the top 15 anglers in the competition scene for the US.
Wow.
And you go through local competitions in the Southeast, the Northeast, Midwest, and the West. And what ends up happening is they pick the top competitors in the region to compete in an interregional. You gain enough points in the interregional and your local competitions, then you get invited to go to nationals. Nationals is the top 48, and out of the top 48, with your combination of points, that makes up the U.S. team. And the U.S. team is usually together for 3 years. It's 15 members. 5 or 6 of those members are on what they call the World's Team, which is they represent us every year at the World Championship. And usually that is the biggest competition because competitive fly fishing in the United States is not a very popular sport compared to Europe, where it's been in vogue for a lot of years. And those teams are sponsored and they have a lot of backing and a fan base. Yeah, that's what the team is. It's our answer to the Europeans, essentially.
When did that start? Like the fly fishing team USA?
Well, I mean, it's been around for at least 20 years. I want to say it's a little bit over 20 years. In the 90s, I know they were competing. And in the last 10 years or so, it's really gotten narrowed down as far as the bylaws and the competition rulings. And I'm really looking at they've turned the team into a sort of I'm looking for
a bureaucracy.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Takes all the fun out of it.
I was going to say, like with the Team USA, like, where did you guys go trout, like fishing at the place of where the Olympics were happening, or like would that be
it doesn't have any correlation with the Olympics.
Oh, okay.
So it's not an Olympic sport. There's an organization called FIPT, which is the International Fishing Association, and they do their own competitive rule. Everything is basically under the Olympic spirit. If it was ever to become an Olympic sport, or something along those lines, like they talked about putting in rock climbing one year, the U.S. team would be the team to represent.
Absolutely. So now you were on Team USA. You hit this though. Now the one thing I have with that is dry fly fishing. What's the like the difference between regular fly fishing and dry fly fishing?
So some will say that regular fly fishing is dry fly fishing. So I'll put it like this: essentially, in fly fishing, what we're looking to do is we're looking to take advantage of trout eating aquatic insects. And we talk about aquatic insects being nymphs, caddisflies, and things like that, right? They live 90% of their time in the water. And then at some point, usually in the spring, they cut loose from the bottom of the creeks and they float up and they become mayflies or caddisflies. So when they leave the bottom of the river and they start free floating up to the top, it's at that point they're in the most danger of being eaten by the fish, right? So the idea is they'll eat them when they're coming through the water column. We call that nymphing, or underwater fishing, underwater fly fishing. And then when they get to the surface, they crack open and their wings will start to come out and they'll start to drift down the river and they'll be very exposed to the fish when they're on the surface. So that's your traditional rise you see, right? Those dimples or splashy rises where the trout are coming eating off the surface. Dry fly fishing is basically having a fly made out of feathers and a hook and whatever materials else that mimics that insect. And then once you see the rise of the fish, you then place the fly into the lane where the bugs are coming down. And your hope is you present it in a way that looks like a natural. The fish will come up and eat that bug off the surface and you set the hook. That is dry fly fishing.
So basically you're kind of calculating where that fish is. You're casting your fishing line, putting your bait there, and then whipping it back so they kind of like see that. Oh wow!
Nope. So you want to. So remember, these bugs are doing something we call a dead drift. When these bugs are on the water, right? They're not flapping their wings. They're not doing anything. The only thing they're doing is they're sitting on the surface tension of the water, and they're letting their wings dry so they can actually take off from the water. Right. So we call that an emerger, or when they get to the top, we call it a dun. And so then the idea is these bugs, since they're not doing anything, they are dead drifting. Your goal as a fly fisherman is to get that fly in a position where it's going to drift down to that fish's feeding lane. And that fish will hopefully eat it like a natural insect. And then you set the hook.
So how, like when I see fly fishers and they keep casting and back and forth, what is it?
That is called a false cast.
Oh,
So when you see them going back and forth and back and forth, and then finally they lay the line down, you're doing a couple things. One, they're drying their fly in the air as they're going back and forth. They're using the wind to dry it. And the other thing that they're doing is they're controlling the amount of line they have out with their other non-dominant hand. So when they're doing a false cast, you're actually seeing somebody gauging their distance. So they might be adding line or stripping line out of the cast. And then they're like, well, I got 20 feet out. I need to get 25. They'll add 5 feet. Am I right where I need to be? Yes. And then they'll lay the fly line down. So that's what that's called. That's false casting.
I don't think I can ever do this. This is too much calculation.
Well, that and you have to learn like a whole new language, presenting and
right
and lanes and yeah. I mean, no
Holy
more fly
shit.
fishermen on the show. It's like a different language.
There's a bit to it. But I mean,
Yeah.
It quite honestly, you can make it as hard as you want or as simple as you want, right?
Mhm.
And it's just
a simple would be going to the store and getting some smoked salmon or
Yes,
some
you can do
smoked
that.
trout. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Trout.
Yeah.
No
So I
salmon.
figured that part out of it.
Right.
So there's all these techniques. There's the dry fly fishing, which is traditional. And then when I was doing this research, I sensed that there's controversy over the use of artificial man-made materials to make flies out of, and flies that don't even look like natural flies, a mop fly,
Right.
junk flies. Why don't you tell us about that whole feud or controversy amongst these, what seemingly placid and calm fly fishermen? What's the talk with mop flies, junk
Yeah.
flies, and
I
the like?
don't know if anybody's actually gone to blows over this yet, but I know people have been very close. So your traditional fly fishermen will say that the only thing that should go onto a hook is fur or feather. So natural materials come from nature. That's what should be used. It should be used in a way that's, let's say artful, and that you should be fishing these dry flies and creations in a very respectful manner. And, this is what fly fishing is about. What you're referring to is people called junk flies. And junk flies are essentially using like rubber, plastics, or even a mop fly, which is actually using microfiber off a mop, to make flies that are useful, what we call a reactionary grab. And the reason they work is fish don't have hands, right? So if something goes past a trout and it's either unfamiliar or looks like some type of food source it hasn't seen before, it has to put its mouth on it to check out what it is. As a fly fisherman, you don't care if it's eating it or testing it, you're still going to set the hook. So essentially, that's what those are. And a lot of people will say that's not true fly fishing. It's dirty fly fishing, and it's you're cheating, And then there's a lot of us out there that just go, fly fishing's fly fishing. Sport's supposed to be fun. If you like what you're doing and enjoy it and you're not hurting anybody else, have a great time.
Will there be any fighting on the side of the streets about this? Will I see, well, it's not streets, but the back roads. Like, will you guys start fighting about this? So you're not doing this traditionally. Bah!
I've heard words, but I don't think you'll ever get it.
I'm just kidding.
That's wild. That's like yelling at somebody because you're wearing like running shoes on the trail.
I know.
Leave that on the street, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those Brooks shoes don't belong up here. No New Balance on the trail. All right, Chris.
Yeah, right.
I want to hear about Euro nymphing.
Look at this. What does he got?
Tight line techniques. Oh, yeah. What is that? You're holding up.
That is a mop fly who we were just talking about.
Okay. And that's made out of synthetic materials.
Oh, it is. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what we were referring to as a mop.
And then, so now we talk about the traditional and stuff like that. Now, when talking about like the trout fly fishing, you said you're 99.9% catch and release. How many do you see like people doing that along nowadays? Like
catch and release?
Yeah.
It's the vast majority of fly fishermen.
Good. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now,
Yeah,
does this catch and release? You know, people always complain about the fish getting the hook or something like that through their mouth, and it ruins the population. Do you see that at all? I mean, being an experienced Catskill fly fisher.
So if you're fly fishing responsibly, when I say fly fishing responsibly, if you're smashing the barbs down on your hook, you're using a single hook only, and you're setting quickly, you're not letting the fish swallow the fly. Very little. I've caught some fish 3 or 4 times, the same individual fish over a season, just because they all have individual markings. And sometimes if they're larger, if they have something weird with the fin or something, you'll know the fish. So catch and release absolutely works. And if you're doing it correctly, it's a minor inconvenience for the fish. And the majority of fly fishermen and women in New York are catch and release.
And mostly, like you teach that, and a lot of the guides teach that as well as catch and release, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. That's cool to know about and stuff. I tried to get a hold of the fisheries and stuff like that up along the Beaverkill, and they just haven't had a response and stuff like that. I'm very curious to learn about the fisheries that we have here in the Catskills. So I don't know what that had to do with anything.
What, fisheries?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, the New York State's making 2021. They started a new rule, a trout management rule. They basically designated every single trout stream in New York by its individual characteristics. So, its capacity to hold fish, the wild fish population, temperature, its water flow, and then it actually custom made essentially 4 or 5. Designations for the streams. So they're now managing each stream almost individually, opposed to what they used to do, which is kind of a shotgun management technique. And what they've done, opposed to other states, which is really cool, is stocked fish coming from the hatcheries have traditionally been these really gross looking mutant fish that are running their entire life in a concrete pool, right?
Yeah.
What New York has done is they have started to integrate wild DNA into their stocked fish. And every year they add some different strain of wild DNA. So the fish that are now coming out of the hatcheries are somewhat wild. They have some characteristics of wild fish. They look better. They behave differently. And when they're in the stream for a little bit, we call them holdovers, so they've been in the stream for a couple of weeks or months, they start to really act like wild fish. And if they spend a couple of seasons, you really have a hard time telling the difference between a stockfish and a wild fish.
Chris, you just are describing what they call Franken trout.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, Frankentrout would be like the palominos they have down in Pennsylvania, which are like the bleached out rainbows, and they put different colors. They have like purple trout. And yellow.
Well,
they can do that.
They got the genetic mix wrong down there, but in New York, I mean, they're like enhancing the genetic code. It sounds like you're going to have like these monster trout, in the Catskills, like
I got to tell
8 feet long. Instead of building a bridge across the West Branch, I'm just going to walk on trout carcasses.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. That's
So now I tried to contact the lady that owns a fishery on the Beaverkill. Mm-hmm. So when they do these fisheries, do they release them at that point, or does the DEC come in like they do with other areas, pick them up with helicopters and drop them further up?
So it all just depends on the stream type, what stocking they're looking to do. They do a lot of it's just drop stocking off bridges or pull-offs. Some of the bigger rivers, they do float stocking. So they'll actually bring pens down and release the fish in some more remote places. So they're not just compiled under the bridge, traditional, everybody going to the bridge and catch all the stockies. But in some places, dumping 2,000 fish under a bridge is a good thing, because all the folks that are coming to take the fish out, that's where they go fish. And, the fly fishermen will go somewhere else, and kind of works. But yeah. And that helicopter and plane stocking stuff is generally seen up in the Adirondacks. We don't have a lot of that in the Catskills.
That's what I thought. I remember seeing those videos, and I'm just like, well, goddamn, that's a decent.
So, Chris, I live on the Schwangunkill, and
I think we're probably neighbors then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So every spring, we see the DEC truck stop on the bridge, and they pull out this long like tube chute, and they empty the truck, and you see it's like a water slide for trout.
Yes.
Just going into the water. And the people that do it, they might be out there half an hour, 45 minutes. And then you see all the people in the area realize that the river just got stocked that day. So they come down, they ask permission to walk through the front yard. We don't have a problem with it. Nobody ever catches one. Right? It's the craziest thing. So, but I'm gonna open up this spring. I'm gonna do a mop fly stand in my front yard and sell junk flies to unsuspecting neighbors for like $20 a fly or something like that.
Well, the trick is you have to figure out what color the pellets are at the hatchery. And then you make the mop fly the same color as the hatchery.
Got you. Yeah.
Those will
Okay.
catch the fish.
Chris has got it figured out. So talking about figuring things, talking about figuring things out, and remembering Chris was on Team USA, top 15 fly fishermen in the country. What have you ever heard of the Hardy Cup?
Yeah, so the Hardy Cup is something they do over at the Catskill Fly Fishing Museum, which is in Livingston Manor, in between Livingston Manor and Roscoe. I believe it's part of their Summer Fest, which is they do a little festival there every year. Hardy being a company from England, that's where their roots are. It is a traditional fly fishing casting competition. So it is limited to cane rods or bamboo rods, like some folks call them. And there's certain weight requirements to it, and they basically cast for distance. So you get a lot of folks that will fly in from all over the world to compete in that one.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
So people literally fly in from all over the world, come into Livingston Manor to compete in this Hardy Cup. Is that the most famous or most prominent fishing competition in the Catskills? Or I also came up with this Catskill Charmed Circle event. You ever hear of that?
Yeah. So Catskill, I've never competed in that one. That is a Westkill Brewery. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that location. Westkill Brewery and Hout's Fly, which is a fly shop out of Pennsylvania. They teamed up a couple of years ago, and I remember I mentioned earlier the Charmed Circle, that big 75-mile radius within the Catskills, is a 2-day fly fishing, or I think it's fly fishing only, competition. Barbless hooks, catch and release. All species are included. They have a bunch of different categories you can fish, to include who brings in the most garbage, which is a pretty cool thing. And all of the money that they get from this 2-day competition goes to the Theodore Gordon Fly Fisher, which is an organization that is into conservation education for the local areas. Theodore Gordon being what we commonly refer to as the father of American fly fishing, who was fly fished on the Neversink in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, and he was so they named the club after.
Yeah, I've never caught a brookie, but I've drank a few brookies from the Westkill. So a couple of them, of them on top of Cornell Mountain. So we talked about the Hardy Cup. We talked about the Catskill Charm Circle. Any other big fishing events in the Catskills you want to talk about?
They do the one fly competition out on the West Branch, and I believe they also do the lower or main stem to Delaware every year. That's a competition that's basically you have a guide with a drift boat, and then you have some folks that will enter the competition. It's a pretty expensive competition to get into, but then they are limited to fishing one fly for both days. And that goes that's a pretty big deal out here in the southern part of the Catskills.
So what's the prize money? If I'm into fly fishing, I come to the Catskills, I enter one of these competitions. What's the most I could win in any one competition?
I don't want to misspeak on this, but I don't believe there's any money in any of the competitions.
What?
So I think they're all.
That's the love. That is the love of the sport. Correct.
You don't even get to take the fish home. It's catch and release, right? You're using this archaic equipment. You probably need to get it from your grandfather or something. Yeah. And you don't even win like $100. You don't go home with anything.
The Hardy Cup, I think you do go home with a cane rod and reel from Hardy, which is, in the upteen of a couple $1,000, I'm sure.
Wow.
But as far as money and cash prizes go, I don't think there's a lot of that going on in fly fishing competitions.
Well, what about the trophies? Or the plaques, the ribbons? Are they pretty
I don't think
kick-ass?
I don't think there's a ton of those either.
Really?
It's the love of the sport, man.
Damn. Patches?
It's like hiking, right? What do you get from hiking? You get nothing and everything, right?
Right? You get a patch and a high five.
Yeah. It's all about the bragging. At the end of the day, it's all about the bragging rights.
Yeah, my wife didn't even give me a high five when I completed it. She was just like, good job. Are you going to shower?
Yeah. And then mow the lawn. Mow the lawn first.
Right. So at the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah.
So all in all, Chris, you're just like an avid fly fisher and stuff like that. What do you have to say about fly fishing in the Catskills? How is it different from other parts of the world? Can you say that we are way ahead of the game and that just, it just kicks ass here?
It does kick ass. I think we're very fortunate with the stringers that we have and the management that's going on. It's like anywhere else, there's always issues with different things, but generally speaking, you can fish 12 months a year here. If you know what to do and what you're looking for, you can be successful. Yeah, if you want to get away from the crowds, you can do that. You can still to this day go find a spot to camp on a creek and fish that creek days on a weekend and not see anybody else. It takes a little bit of effort. And if you want it to be a social scene, I think that's the cool thing too, is you can go on a drift boat on the main stem of Delaware and drink beers with your buddies all day and catch a couple of fish and go back to the lodge and sit at a campfire all night, so whatever experience you want to have, you can do it here. I have a lot of folks that I know that will come up from Manhattan. They'll leave first thing in the morning, they'll fish for a couple hours, and then they'll be back at work in the afternoon.
Wow.
So it's all here. So,
yeah. Those people are called the Rockefellers, by the way.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
Or the Goulds. Yeah, the Goulds as well. They can fly up here by helicopter. So now, Chris, do you offer any guiding services with trout, like fishing and fly fishing and stuff like that?
So I do some instructional stuff. I teach a very specific technique called contact nymphing. And if people fly fish, they'll understand what that is. So I do a couple of those instructional sessions every year. Guiding, there's a lot of great guys in the Catskills, not even with Trout Town flies, but if someone's looking to get out for a guided trip, I'd say the best thing to do is contact Trout Town flies and speak to Joe there. All the guides are top notch. That's why I associate with them. And they're kind of place that isn't looking to oversell people into anything. Which I really appreciate. And, they're not going to tell somebody who's brand new to spend thousands of dollars on equipment and a trip if it's not something that's going to be beneficial to them.
So the Trout Town flies will be in the show notes, so check them out. And also your Instagram, of course, they can get their hold through you through Instagram.
Yep.
Catskill Fly Fisher, correct?
At Catskill Fly Fishing.
Yeah. So contact Chris or Trout Town Flies if you want to go on like an expedition or stuff like that. I'd suggest going with a guide, because once again, I would like to do this sometime in my life, but I don't know if I have the skills, and I do not want to be recorded on video doing what I do, because it just looks probably horrible. But I would like to try to fly fish once in my life.
Yeah, man. Let me know. I'll get you out.
Yeah, we should do it.
Yeah, hike up to Graham and then hike back down.
Yeah, but when you say you don't want to be caught on film, I'm just remember, who was it that posted that photo of you last week?
That was Todd.
Yeah.
Dude, I was surfing.
Yeah. Okay.
Outrageous.
Outrageous.
You're lucky you don't have another person with you to, that's
why I
fell
hike
down.
Solo. You notice in my like previous hikes, I didn't talk about the face plant I did this weekend. We're going to delete this section, by the way, because
Well, Danny Davis carries a flip phone, so the pictures you do is pixelated, and So, Chris, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. We had a fantastic time talking about fly fishing. Yeah, it was just so much fun. I, learn every time, learn so much more, but I want to gain so much more. So I have a feeling that we'll have you back on to talk about this more in the summertime, spring, summertime, when this is more kind of like prevalent instead of the winter where stuff is frozen over and you can't really do that much unless you're completely dedicated to the sport.
So a couple of us out there, yeah.
I mean, there is cold water right now. I mean, it's pretty cold. Anybody wants to go take a dip in the Catskill water, don't do it because we found out someone fell in the fisherman's path and had hypothermia. So,
yeah, I heard that. So,
Yeah. So, Chris, have you ever fished up there?
Where's that?
Along the east branch of the Neversink?
Again, those things that I don't talk about.
Okay, I got it.
Yes,
I'm down with that.
Yeah, I've fished every major stream in the Catskills and most of the tributaries.
Cool.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about this when we've stopped recording. So that's fantastic. So good to hear. Once again, contact Chris through social media or Trout Town Flies for any questions you have about fly fishing and stuff. And Chris, it was great you joined on the show, but we have one last question, and you know this. Post hike brews and bites. What do you have suggested?
Oh, wow. So it's a great question. Post hike
or post fishing.
Post fishing.
Yeah. Your favorite place in the Catskills.
I'll say I got two spots. They're both in Roscoe. I mentioned one already, which is Roscoe Beer Company. I enjoy going there after. And then also the Junction in Roscoe is a very cool little bar right in town. Opened up a couple of years ago, and they stay late for fly fishermen and women. It's
Nice.
got a really good crowd usually on the weekends. We got a nice deck over Main Street there on Stewart Avenue, and yeah.
What about the Roscoe Diner? That doesn't make the list.
Roscoe Diner's all right. I think it's a good breakfast spot.
Yeah, okay.
I do like it once in a while for that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to pick after, it would probably be somewhere with some beverages.
Good beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some beer and some nice burgers and stuff. So
Yeah.
I agree. So excellent. So we'll have that in the show notes. Roscoe Beer Company, Roscoe Junction as well. So yeah, awesome. So Chris, thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Had a fantastic time. Hopefully we'll catch you on again in the future. We'll talk about fly fishing more with the warmer weather, and we can talk about, legit fly fishing when it's not frozen over like it is now.
Good plan.
So big thank you to, once again, the supporters and the sponsor of the show. Really appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who has donated to the show. And thank you to everybody who is still listening to the show. Really appreciate it. 207 episodes in. Chris joins us to talk about Catskill fly fishing and his awesome tribute to fly fishing that he's had since the 90s. So really appreciate it, Chris. Have a good night, and keep on doing your thing because we'd love to hear about it.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked.